So I'm going to be diving into how to stop feeling guilty for trying to be all things and then not succeeding or not feeling like you're succeeding. That's a really key word, feeling. So I'm Rebecca Lockwood, your neuro-linguistic programming trainer, hypnosis trainer, and breakthrough coach trainer. And I do also train a couple of other modalities, including positive psychology, hypnotherapy, which I just said, timeline therapy, and energy. And yeah, I'm just super excited to be diving into this topic because this is so important and it's something that I've experienced, and it's also something that a lot of our students have experienced because I've seen them and we've had conversations around it. So within our neuro-linguistic programming practitioner program, there's a technique that I teach called parts integration. Okay, and within this technique called parts integration, I teach you how to work with your clients to release inner conflicts and inner turmoil. Right? So it might feel like an inner conflict or an inner turmoil, like how when you feel guilty, when you're trying to be all things, and you get this inner feeling that feels just not quite right. So it could be like an inner conflict or an inner turmoil or a part-time belief. So this can manifest itself in a really uncomfortable feeling. So it could feel like you've got this inner conflict, or it could be like this inner feeling like something just does not feel right. You don't feel congruent, you don't feel whole, you don't feel comfortable, you just know something isn't right and you're not quite sure. Maybe you are sure what it is, but most probably you're not quite sure what it is. You just have this feeling inside of yourself where you just don't feel right. You don't feel congruent, you don't feel whole, right? So you may not be consciously aware of this, and it could just leave you feeling really uncomfortable or really agitated, or really like maybe like you're on the edge of your seat sometimes, or like maybe you've got anxiety. It might manifest itself in anxiety as well. I always think, and I always say, anxiety is like a call to action from the subconscious mind that you need to take action on something that you're not consciously aware of, right? So, a common thing that happens, a common theme that happens within our students, and something that I've also experienced myself, is this feeling of guilt, right? This feeling of guilt. So feeling guilty when I'm working and not being with my children, and then feeling guilty when I'm with my children and not working, right? So on one hand, I want to be with my children and I want to be present with them. But on the other hand, I want to be working and I want to be working and being successful. On one hand, I want to be working and feel successful, but on the other hand, I want to be with my children and I want to spend time with them, right? And this can really cause this conflicted feeling of, like it feels like a conflict, it feels like a part, because that's what it happens. It is the subconscious mind parting, and it creates a different part at the subconscious level, right? So this could be this could also be something if you're not a parent, right? So if you're not a parent, it could be, and this is a really common one, it could be many different things, but this is a really common one that I see. It could be, I really feel like I need to work all the time to be successful. But on the other hand, I also want to practice self-care and look after myself, right? On one hand, I want to practice self-care and make sure I'm looking after myself, but on the other hand, I feel like I need to be working all the time, right? So this is a huge common limiting belief of, we have to work really hard to be successful and we have to be available all the time, and it causes people to merge boundaries. That's probably the right way to describe it. And have no boundaries for themselves as well. It can cause a feeling of guilt, right? So it can cause a feeling of guilt when you're not working. And then on the flip side of that, if you were a mother, and the thing is, on one hand, I want to be with my kids and I want to be present with my kids, but on the other hand, I feel like when I'm doing that, I need to be working. But then when I'm working, I feel like I need to be with my kids. And there's this constant inner turmoil that feels like there's a massive conflict there, and it feels incongruent and it feels uncomfortable and it's damn right annoying. Right? And it's so common, so on one hand, you want to feel like you want to be with your kids and be present with them, but on the other hand, you feel like you need to be working all the time. Or if you don't have children and you don't have children, it could be that you just feel like you need to work all the time and you're risking your self-care and you're not taking time to practice self-care. So it could be that, right? So the way to know the difference between whether it's a limiting belief or a part. So a part is a part-time belief. So for example, sometimes I feel really confident speaking in public, and sometimes I don't. And I feel really nervous speaking in public. So that's a part-time belief. It's not a full-time belief because you don't believe it all the time. It's a part-time belief. And that's how you'd know whether it's a part-time belief. And if it's a conflict would be either you can't make a decision about something and that's leaving you feeling uncomfortable and guilty and like you can't decide to do something and you can't move forward. Or a conflict could also just feel like incongruence, like you're off center, like you're not balanced, you're not grounded, and that's a really good indication that there is a conflict. Okay. So when I teach this technique then within our neuro-linguistic programming and breakthrough coaching program, and within this I teach you really how to support your clients to meet this boundary. So what happens and why this kind of conflict happens is because on one hand you feel like you want to work, I'm just using this as an example, right? On one hand I feel like I want to work all the time, and on the other hand I feel like I need to be with my children, and the same thing happens when you're with your children. On one hand I feel like I need to on one hand I feel like I need to be with my children all the time, but on the other hand I feel like I need to be working. This creates a conflict, okay? And what's happened is the subconscious mind has split and it's created a part, right? A part. So if you imagine the unconscious mind is a whole, and the unconscious mind always likes to be whole, right? So we're always congruent and we always feel more grounded and more comfortable when our unconscious mind is whole. When we have a part, whether that's a part-time belief or a conflict, what's happened is our subconscious mind, which is whole, has created this part within it, and it's uncomfortable, right? It creates an uncomfortable feeling that's like a conflict, and it could feel like they're against each other, right? Feel like they're against each other. So when I teach you this technique within our neuro-linguistic programming training, what happens is when if you imagine the unconscious mind as a whole, and you've got this part, right, this part of the unconscious mind that's split, what I teach you to do is to understand that both of these parts, so the unconscious mind and this part, both have the same highest intention. Okay, so what happens is you go beyond the boundary and you'll realize at the subconscious level that both of these parts have the highest same intention. Okay, so the same highest intention. And what happens then is they then merge at the subconscious level and become whole again. So they become whole, integrated into the subconscious mind. So what happens then is you'll see a real shift in your client. So if you're using this technique with your client or you're using this technique with yourself, you'll see a real change in physiology where the conflict will just drop out, and you'll see a massive shift. And even we've seen it happen in live trainings where the face color's changed and the whole shape of the face has changed. It's just amazing. People look completely different. It's just incredible. So when you see this happen, you'll see a shift in your client, where the conflict or part-time belief just drops out and it gets deleted from their neurology and becomes whole as their subconscious mind. So just wanted to share that with you because it's a super powerful technique, and so many people are, especially right now, are feeling that there's these conflicts and there's these parts of themselves that are not quite congruent, and they're feeling like there's some disconnect and there's some uncomfortable, there's just something that feels a bit uncomfortable. And using this technique within our neuro-linguistic programming and practitioner and breakthrough coaching training, I teach you the full technique so that you will merge parts of the subconscious into the whole. Okay, so really quickly then, before we finish up, I've got some training going on very soon. So our next training is Get More Coaching Clients, which I'm super excited about. So you can sign up for that if you're on Instagram with me. It's in the link in the bio. If you're on Facebook Live with me, it's in the notes. And if you're listening to this on the replay on the podcast, it'll be in the show notes. So Get More Coaching Clients. I'm going to be diving into how to support you to get more coaching clients. And if you want to find out more about our NLP practitioner and breakthrough coaching program, again, the notes either in Instagram is on my profile, and in Facebook it's in the notes above. So that's it from me. I hope that was useful. I'm Rebecca Lockwood, your neuro-linguistic programming trainer, hypnosis trainer, and breakthrough coach trainer. And if you've got any questions about our training, our free training coming up, or our neuro-linguistic programming training, just pop me a message.